Not part of Down East EMS. They are an external contract. So they don't have anybody on the board. They don't have any power to make any decisions. So that's the big difference with a town like Baileyville and a town like, we'll say, Lubec.
Okay. So
And
do they still pay a per capita fee?
they do pay a per capita fee, and also they pay, it's looked at also per usage. And the three biggest towns right now, Eastport and Lubec, are neck and neck this year. It's a close race. They're within, I think, 10 runs right now. So, and then the UTs, as you know, is a group of
Right.
townships and
Right.
territories and towns that are not all that large. So, and put together though, they're quite an army.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's the difference. Baileyville is a contracted service. We don't have many that are, but they are. So, and Mike,
I wanted to know if, in notification, can we put this on the website?
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, more information the better, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will tell you, you know, ambulance services are a struggle now, as we've seen. Some have dropped, some have failed. Camden's failed. There's others that are failing now. I know, I won't mention other towns, but I know other directors right now that are basically failing at this point. And at some point, there's going to have to be a legislative lobby on this. And I will likely be part of that. So I think we're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a couple of questions. Anybody else have any?
Waiting for yours.
Okay. One of my questions is, right now you have a credit line of $100,000.
Yes.
And you're pretty well to the top of that
Yes,
credit
correct.
line. Now, part of this refinancing package, if I'm reading this correctly, would be that you would have an additional, you would pay off your existing credit line,
Right.
and you would have a credit line of $100,000 again.
Yes.
Now, I happened to see on that wonderful thing called Facebook that there was a purchase of some ambulances, 3?
Recently, yes.
Yes. May I ask how they were paid for?
Those were paid for, we're able to secure from the First, National Bank in Calais. We're able to secure a loan from them to buy those.
Okay.
And the reason we bought them, they were an extremely good deal for 3 ambulances. They averaged around $12,000 a piece. Actually around $11,000 a piece. And that is extremely inexpensive for ambulances to help our tired fleet. And that's a good question, Maureen, because one of the things that I've run into coming into this job was that we had purchased ambulances all the same time and all the same unit, and it happened to be a unit that has failed nationally. And Ford even had a class action suit on it back in 2010. And so these ambulances were a problem because their engines failed.
Okay, my question has to do with the financing.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Yep.
very important that they're replaced, etc. But you said you had secured financing
Yes.
from First. Now, how does that figure into this refinancing?
That'll be deducted from that,
Deducted
from the refinancing package from the First now. Yeah.
So will that go against that
It
100,000?
would not be additional. It would
It
would not,
reduce that $100,000 credit line?
well, not so much the credit line, it would reduce a portion of the refinance package though. It would come out of it. Not the credit line, but likely out of part of the general loan itself.
Okay, this is my concern. In the last year, the time I've been on the board, there have been occasions when either Eastport or Lubec had to pony up early on the amount, the stipend that we pay,
Mhm.
because you folks were having a problem making payroll.
Correct.
Now, I want to be sure that we're not going to run into that 6 months down the line. If that $100,000 credit line is going to be there when you have an unexpected expense.
Well, actually, what I'm planning to do is I'm hoping not to have to utilize $100,000 credit line very often at all for emergencies. I am planning to basically set up a payroll fund so that we can grab onto payroll from that and not have to tap into a credit line like a credit card, because I don't like them. And if we could not use that, then that would be for, if I, say I went out and blew the Lubec trucks differential today, then I'd go to the credit line, let's get it fixed this week and get it back online.
Right.
That's how we want to use it. I don't want to have it grow again.
That's my concern.
Yes,
that it does
it's a
not
huge
grow
concern.
again.
Right.
You know, you're paying it off now, but this purchase, for instance, of the
Yes.
3 ambulance, my concern was that that was eating into that, and that we were going to start reducing that
Right.
before this refinancing even.
Yeah, but that's an excellent question. Yeah.
Okay, my second question is, there's 3 entities that have to approve this refi.
Yeah.
One is Eastport, and they've already done it.
Yeah.
Lubec, we have not done it. We have to take it to our citizens because we're a town, not a city. And the third one is the unorganized territory.
UTs.
Have they signed into this? Have they approved?
The UTs?
Yes.
There's been one county meeting about this. There'll be a second one, which I'll be involved in, hopefully in about 3 weeks. And what they're doing right now is they have figured out the concept of it, and there's a new lawyer now for the county who was not in this last time. So he's looking at all the different ins and outs of this. But he's basically said we can go forward, but they tabled it till we have another meeting when he can figure everything out. So it's a
Okay.
brand new attorney from them.
We, as a town, incur an expense every time that we have a public meeting of this
Yeah.
sort. My thought is, and I want to ask this board and yourself, would it be better for the town of Lubec, and would it in any way impinge on your refinancing plans, for us to wait until it went through the UT, or unorganized territory, before we went to the expense of a public hearing, public meeting?
I would, given what Eastport has done and what I know about the county, I would like to get the support from Lubec as soon as we can as planned, only because I think the county may ask me the same question. They may ask, well, has Lubec decided yet? And I'm kind of getting into this back and forth on it, which, you know, I would hope we weren't gonna, but I think we are starting to now. Because they're asking, well, we know Eastport's in, so Lubec's coming up on the 24th, and then we'll follow. So-
Would a logical response to that be that, since they do it by a vote, no expense to them,
Yeah,
Eastport does it by a vote, no expense, would a logical response be that we are waiting for the other 2 entities to approve before we go to the expense on something that may not be approved by that third entity? We would have spent, how much does a special town
$2,800?
meeting cost? $2,800?
Pretty close, anywhere from 15 to 20, so it has to vary, but if there's a lot of, we have to have a public hearing and also how much paperwork has to be
Okay.
done. So it varies, but that's a good estimate in between there.
So, not meaning it as any lack of
Right.
support on the part of the Lubec board, and it would just save, it would be more prudent for us to wait for the UT to do it, and Eastport has already done the approval, and then us be the third one to come in.
there's a possibility that if there was a tie with the county vote for some reason, because they're looking at different situations with the commissioners as well, that the first may look at an alternate path on this. And I do not have the answer to that alternate path yet, but they've indicated to me that they're interested in getting it done. So,
Right, I understand that they're, I mean,
I
I
don't
worked in
know.
banking for many years, I know
Yeah.
where they're coming from. But can you see where I'm coming
Yeah.
from? And is this something that would be worth going back to first and say, look, Lubec Board Chair has come up with this, what is your feelings on it? Bottom line, if you do not get approval for this refinancing, you're gonna still be able to chug along. It'll be a little slower, but,
I would see a definite reorganization of the company,
right,
to the point that it may look quite different.
okay,
I would think that's probably gonna happen,
okay.
honestly.
Is this something that you could talk to first? I mean, we'd be willing to talk to them as well and say, look, this is something that cost us money. Can we wait and be the third one to come in?
Yeah, I mean, I think they would, Maureen wouldn't have a problem with that. You know, I don't know when the county is gonna, I thought they were gonna go last month, but they wanted to go one more meeting, so, which is fine. And I know they're trying to settle it out with the UTs as well, so I can certainly run that past them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of the board members feel about it, but that would be my recommendation, that we give Steve some time to look into the possibility of doing this. I just hate to see us put $2,800 into something that is for naught.
Turns out for naught, yeah, then
Yeah.
we're out the money.
Right,
And it's a precious commodity in Lubec.
yes it is.
And this isn't the first time we've been presented with a refinancing idea for the ambulance. And I know there's a large contingent of people who love the police department, but I think an ambulance is actually the first order of business. And I don't even know what that would cost us. It's probably all up in the $500,000 just to get started range, which everything seems to be. So,
$500,000, yeah. I wouldn't like to see anything happen by down East CMS.
no.
But I would like to buy us, you know,
No.
a little
I think
little
that's
time.
I think that's a fair request.
Again, you know, it would depend on what first came back on, but certainly, I think it would be fair. It would be fair to the citizens of Lubec. The city of Eastport's in a different position because they are a city rather than a town. And the unorganized territory is under the county commissioners, so they're in a different position. They have a vote, they vote it, or, you know, don't vote it. But for us, it costs money to have that vote. So,
On another note regarding that, the unorganized territories in the Down East Coastal Press article regarding the buy-out-reach financing structuring of the CCLC, Main Fresh, seafood pies, the UT was thinking more of using their TIF money for low-interest loans at 1.5%. Just a suggestion.
For projects in the UTs, yes. Yeah, I've talked to them about that already.
You're employing people here, and you're stationed here, so you would fit the parameters of what they're.
I've had that discussion with them. But they're very much up in the air right now between whether it's gonna be low interest loans or grants. And I don't know if they've decided yet, so they actually told us to hold off until they decide how they're gonna work it.
but I truly would like to see that 100,000 be used as an emergency fund.
Right.
Not a.
Operating fund.
Exactly.
And I think to some extent, and this is not a criticism, it was used as a credit card type
Oh, yeah,
situation.
absolutely.
But the other thing too is, I know, part of the refinance amount, that Steve and the board talked about, is to buy ambulances and replace some of those 6 liters. So when Steve was talking about, you know, the money that was spent for the 3 ambulances from Camden, that would come out of that amount,
Okay.
not the line of credit.
Also, that helps with the issue of buying them all at once. Now you can start staggering your replacement.
Exactly.
And, and then not be wound up with all, you know, a whole bunch of dead ones at one time.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah,
That's
so if
exactly
that
right.
works, and
Mhm.
Steve, with us putting this off or postponing it or whatever, is that gonna hamper you at all? Is that gonna tie your hands at all?
It'll slow things down, but I don't know what the county's timetable is right now, so, and I'll probably know in the next week or so. They just had their meeting last week, so I'm assuming it's gonna be at least probably 3 more weeks before they have a meeting. I think they meet monthly. But they also, and it's gonna be probably, they'll have to dictate that timetable now, so. And they may ask that, when is Lubec done, so I can tell them. Yeah,
Well, I'm willing to support you 100%. I'm willing to do it right now.
so,